So COP as an acronym means the Conference of Parties.
It's a table that brings together the private sectors, government, other agencies, institutions, academia, and everyone else, just to discuss about climate change.
So the COPs have really been an avenue to bring all of these different actors together to sort of determine where we at and what do we need to be doing.
It holds every year, unless it's otherwise decided by the members not to hold.
So COP as an acronym means the Conference of Parties, but for it really makes sense is to remember that COP in this particular case is this annual meeting that happens that's held by the UNCCC, which is a UN body that focuses on climate change. And traditionally, it's been this coming together of countries to negotiate on various key points as far as the climate problem is concerned globally. Of late, it's also become a meeting point for different climate actors. So it's gone beyond just the government negotiators. So you do find it, you find a lot of different climate actors, whether it's NGOs, civil societies, private actors, private players, industry, etc., coming in and saying, okay, this is what we're doing. These are the commitments we are making towards the climate problem.
So COP is the Conference of Parties. Basically, what happens is that it's a table that brings together the private sectors, government, other agencies, institutions, academia, and everyone else, just to discuss about climate change and what we could do and what each player is supposed to do about it. And what happens mostly there is it's a negotiation between countries. What are your NDCs, the national determined contributions? How much are you emitting? How much do you foresee yourself in terms of reducing your emissions? Are you pledging to give anything to the countries that are being affected by climate change, and so on? So in there also happen a lot of negotiations. Our stand as Africa is that we are being affected by climate change, as everyone knows, yet we are the ones who emit the least. And we are having so many efforts and so many initiatives that are going into mitigation, but rather we should be focusing on adaptation, because adaptation is where we are now being conditioned to how we are going to continue living with the crisis, the climate crisis. And the idea behind Africa Climate Summit at COP was that now that we know that we need more of adaptation financing, let's ask for what is rightfully ours. Let's ask the global north to own up to what they've historically emitted, and let's get justice for what we deserve.
COP is an acronym for Conference of Parties. It's the decision-making body of the United Nations Framework Conference on Climate Change. Member states of COP, those states that have decided or put pen to paper to be bound by the provisions of the framework. So it holds every year, unless it's otherwise decided by the members not to hold.
So COP actually stands for Conference of the Parties. It's so funny because almost as the COP has become more and more popular, across the world, and more people are hearing about it, everybody has a different name for what this acronym is, but it actually stands for Conference of the Parties. And then this goes back to the 70s, when the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change was first formed to address this problem, climate change as we see it today. And what the Conference of the Parties would do is, and continues to do, is to bring stakeholders together, initially state actors, but that has grown to sort of include additional stakeholders from CSOs, civil society, non-state actors. You're seeing, youth having a voice. You're seeing women having a specific voice. You're seeing indigenous communities have a specific voice. You're seeing even regional blocks starting to have, a voice as one. So essentially bringing all of these different stakeholders together, from a point of how, let's understand, the status of climate as it stands today. What is the science telling us? What are the commitments that we're making to be able to address this problem? And then how do we hold each other accountable? And what is everybody's role in ensuring that we achieve these goals and these commitments that we're setting out? So the COPs have really been an avenue to bring all of these different actors together to sort of determine where we at and what do we need to be doing. We think about some significant COPs. For example, the third COP held in Kyoto, where you had the Kyoto Kyoto Protocol coming out. And this is sort of the first agreement around climate change, with actors making some level of commitment to, you know, recognizing and seeing that they have to reduce their emissions. So this is the beginning. You see other COPs as we move forward, COP7 in Marrakesh, where you're starting to see a fund, you know, for least economically developed countries to be able to address their adaptation concerns. And then, you know, the one that we talk about the most and has really been significant, COP21 in Paris, where you had the Paris Agreement signed, and that continues to be the climate Bible right now, the agreement that really has set out what are the obligations of parties to the COP, what are the obligations in terms of emissions reductions, in terms of adaptation planning, and then creating a mechanism for regular reporting, regular disclosure, for us to be able to make sure that we are finding ourselves not going above 1.5 degrees by the end of the century.